I know I've been away. I'm just trying to get my paper straight. Don't give my shit away. I'm just trying to get my paper straight. Hey y'all, I said I would follow through, I would be consistent, and then it didn't go that well, okay? I'm not gonna lie to you, which is why I kind of left my channel for a while. Am I really feeling shame?
Shame.
Nah, absolutely not. For the past half year, I've been going through a lot of transformations, mentally and physically. I've been going through my injury that I told you about in my Muay Thai episode. It started really affecting me emotionally because I didn't know what to do with myself. I couldn't release stress in the way that I used to. It impacted my feeling of self-worth and self-confidence. On top of that, I started a new job early this year. I overestimated myself. I thought I would be able to continue keeping up with my creative baby here and continuing with my full-time corporate job that I have in my daily life. I completely failed at that. Some of my friends kept on roasting me in real life, saying how I did exactly opposite of what I intended to do. Some friends were messaging me and asking me about it nicely. Some friends just gave up and were like, whatever. If she ever wants to do it again, she will do it. Ever since I started doing this, I was thinking of this level of responsibility that I have for me, because whatever I release out there on the internet, it will stay there. So you gotta be very careful, especially in this world where little things from the past can haunt you if you said something wrong. And I want to be mindful of that. I started thinking about the image that I want to portray and things that I want to do, and some of my friends started giving me recommendations on how I should develop my channel, how I should monetize it, how I should really aim for 1 million views and all that. And in reality, I don't really care about this. The genuine intention was to just create. And that's why I understand that was also affecting that consistency, because when you have that idea of, oh, I'm just going to work on this, or I'm just going to do this when I feel like it, when I have that creative moment, that's where it's hitting that inconsistency, and that's where it's becoming more of a hobby or interest or a side thing that you don't really commit yourself to. That's why I prioritized other things in my life, and my channel kind of fell through the cracks, but hey, it's always there. My episodes are still there. I'm still posting shorts from time to time. If one day it does become huge and one day there are more people who watch this and share, great. The best way for me to come back and sort of ground myself into what I really want to share with people online was just storytelling. Right now, I am going through a very interesting experience where, as I said, at the beginning of this year, I started a new job. And for those of you who don't know, I work in software sales. Well, it's kind of a mix of, I guess, sales and marketing. It's really called account management. I work for a SaaS company, software as a service, those ones that usually operate based on the subscription. Lately, I have been hitting a plateau state. When I started this job, I was doing things in a way that were helping me get more effective, close deals, and eventually hitting my quota, because in any sales environment, you have your targets, you have your quotas that you need to accomplish every single month or quarter. I've been doing sales and marketing for over a decade now. My educational background is in marketing, and then I started working in sales as my first job. So I have a pretty good share of experience in that and expertise. But recently, I have been struggling a lot with doing the same thing over and over again at the same level that I used to. For example, at the beginning of my role, I was very good at doing presentations, what we call demos, and closing the deals, all the way from qualifying, discovery, to closing and having my pitch or value statement in there too. There's a whole process to it. I find myself now having such a hard time doing this over and over again consistently. Of course, as many people today, I talk with my GPT therapist about this and trying to nail down what's happening and is it normal, because you would think, as a person who already has this experience, as a person who has been in this role for over 6 months, you should get better. You should get more efficient. I know that my audience is ranging all the way from late teens to probably early 40s. Whoever you are, And whatever you do in life, it is okay if right now you feel like you're plateauing. I don't know your context, I don't know why it's happening, but if you feel that way, the first thing that I want to acknowledge right now as you're watching this, it is normal to feel that way. Even if you have years of experience and expertise in something, it is very human. Now it's becoming a huge priority for me to get back to what I know I can be, as well as enhance myself. And one of the things that GPT told me is that, again, it's very normal for people who already accumulated certain level of expertise to get that. It is a testament of how you can now level up and build off that. And within my scope of work, it's all about effective communication. And I think for most people, regardless of whether you are in sales or whatever you do in life, I think that it all starts from communication. And it affects everything in your life, from your work to your relationships with people. One of the best coaches of communication that I absolutely admire, Jefferson. He is an American lawyer and communication coach, and he is one of those experts who does teach about calm communication. The first time I heard him was on my favorite podcast, The Diary of a CEO.
Where some people would teach you how to play an instrument, I tell you what chords to play. And so once you know where you are, even in your voice, what matters are the actual words that you say. And I can change 2 sentences, 2 words, and change your life just by what you decide to say next, because where you've been in your whole life comes down to your communication. Almost get to wherever you wanted to go if you were a 10 out of 10 communicator. How you get hired for jobs, let's say in your career, comes down almost exclusively to how you communicated right there in that interview. You know, people have a wonderful resume, but they have no ability to communicate that. And without the ability to say anything and say it at least effectively, then they're not going to get what they want. Or you have people who have been in those relationships where they've continually been stepped on, and they're wonderful people inside. And if they were only with the right person, or if they could express how they wanted and what they needed at that time, their whole world would really change.
I learned so much from just that one episode. I live by everything that he's sharing, because every time I listen to this man, I think I become more purposeful and more intentional about the things that I say or that I do. I'm trying to have a framework of what I want to focus on based on Jefferson Fisher's learnings and teachings. And another huge role model for me is Chris Voss, a former FBI master of negotiation who was basically negotiating with terrorists. And
what is that triad?
There's the victim, the protector, and the persecutor. And someone who comes on a hotline really portraying themselves as a victim, they're trying to draw you into being the protector or to give advice. I need your advice, might be what they would literally say. And then if you're dumb enough to give advice, then they switch from being the victim to the persecutor, and they attack you for your advice. And then as soon as you back off, then they go back to being a victim again to try to lure you into giving them advice so that they can attack your advice. Watch out for somebody trying to lure you into giving advice versus being a great sounding board, helping them discover the answer on their own. In 2002, much later, I ran across Jim Camp's book, Start With No, and he talked about effectiveness in business negotiation, helping your counterpart discover the best answer. Because if they discover something that's mutually beneficial versus if you offer it, if they discover it, it's their idea and they're going to do it. If you offer it, you're giving them advice and they got no emotional ownership and they're less likely to do it. So he called it helping them discover the best deal.
He's also author of the book Never Split the Difference. I highly recommend. Everybody will benefit from that. I think when we either write things down on a piece of paper or when we say them out loud, it's almost like giving words more substance and telling those affirmations out loud too. So something that I've written down for myself, very simple. The simpler something is, the harder it actually is, if it makes sense. The 3 things I'm focusing on this month to become the effective communicator that I know I can be and to get better at my own role within my actual daily job is the following. The first one is breathing.
If I disagree with your opinion, your fight or flight kicks in. Your body's saying, hey, I'm being undermined. Your mind is telling you, hey, I didn't like that. What he's saying is different from what I'm saying. You know what? We're going to think of some other things. It's going to put that down. Immediately, what I want to do is say something that is going to fight. In other words, I'm going to hurt you. I want to say something that's going to cut you I want to say something that is hurtful, or we run from it. You ever had somebody been on the phone and go, I'm over this, and they hang up?
Yeah.
Or they go, I'm out of here. You know what? Forget this. And they go and slam the door. That's their flight. They're leaving. I feel threatened in this current moment by this conflict, by this differing view. So I need to get out of it. When you decide to say it with control, you make sure that doesn't happen. And it all begins with your breath. All right, that's the key. So what I teach every one of my clients is let your breath be the first word that you say.
I have this tendency where I think very fast, and I'm trying to say it very fast as well. And one thing that everybody should know, doesn't matter if you're in sales or not, but if you want to be understood and heard better, slow down and breathe. So this is something that I'm reminding myself of. Another reason why I felt so strongly about just sitting down and recording this episode was to practice what I'm trying to achieve so far. When I talk about breathing, it's basically even taking a couple of seconds and just giving yourself space and be comfortable with it. So every time when you have a conversation with anybody, every time if you're about to give a presentation, if you are about to make a call and you find it uncomfortable, just breathe. As I'm saying this, I'm practicing this right now as I'm recording this episode. The second one is stay present. And this is so tough because we're so used to doom scrolling. We're so used to context switching where we start writing an email and then all of a sudden we open our calendar and all of a sudden we want to go grab water and all of a sudden my cat is sitting next to me and I want to pet him and then somebody's calling me, and at least I'm just describing, a regular morning for me. Versus when you are in a conversation with somebody, same idea. You gotta be present with this person and be there in the moment to really understand what they're saying, right? Maybe you heard of this term active listening, when you're trying to really sit there with them, understand without interrupting, without thinking of what you're gonna say next, and with letting them say everything. And then once they finish, you don't say something right away. You still maybe wait a few seconds before you really say something. And as you say this, maybe ask a question instead of sharing your opinion first to really dig deeper into what they're feeling. So to me, this is the example of staying present. Same idea with any other activity that I'm doing right now. I'm just trying to not switch too much. If I started washing the dishes, I want to finish washing the dishes. I don't want to go to put my laundry in. I'm going to finish the dishes first, and then I'm going to go put the laundry, and then I'm going to vacuum clean, and then I'm going to pet my cat, and so on. Versus for me, sometimes what I do is I would try to do what I think it's also called cross procrastination, when you start one task and then you switch to another one. And maybe sometimes there are benefits to it, and sometimes I think sometimes our brain does need a change of pace in the moment, especially when it's coming to routine tasks. When it comes to sales conversations and negotiations, you gotta be very focused on what the person is saying.
There is no negotiation methodology that doesn't list listening as an advanced skill. Far more difficult than simply keeping quiet. And I did an interview with Mark Cuban, and he's like, yeah, if I take the time to really hear somebody out in our first deal and pay attention to what's important with them, then every deal after that will come to me faster, having done it right up front. And it'll increase the velocity of my ability to make deals with them because they'll trust me. They'll know that I hear them out. They know that I'm looking out for them.
Along with that, that's why I appreciate doing activities that help me stay focused, one of which is Muay Thai. Why? Because I gotta be present there, otherwise I'm gonna be hit in my face. Another one is golf. Thanks to my friends. Shout outs to Karina and James for teaching me golf, because golf is one of those activities where the only person you're competing with is yourself, and you have to stay very present in the moment to just make the contact with the freaking ball, and it's very challenging. So any activity that helps personally you to stay present, whether it's, just workouts or drawing or going for a walk, things like that, I find that there's so many ways that we can help ourselves get that presence and that feeling. And then third is the one that I find still very awkward and uncomfortable till this day, is sitting with silence. And what I mean by this is every time when I have a conversation with somebody, is just being able to, again, give them that space and not rush into anything and just really calm down. If somebody says something, wait and pause for a couple of seconds before you say something, before you ask something. And if you're in sales, this is essential. You gotta be comfortable with that, because that's where the assertion also comes from. Best salespeople are not the people who are the loudest talkers. They're not the people who are the most charismatic ones. The best salespeople are those who can listen and who can ask right questions in the right moment and who can really feel the pace of the conversation. And one of which is being comfortable with just being quiet and not rush into anything. Because of my dynamic, my natural tendency to be, like I said, a fast speaker and to do things fast, I often find myself, I become very fussy. As in, I try to do so many things at the same time and I multitask. And especially when I have my coffee, my energy is just going all the way. And sometimes it is efficient, okay? I do things like that. But in many ways, especially when it comes to negotiations and business conversations, and if you want to be in control of the conversation, you gotta calm down. You gotta sit with silence and you have to speak slower. And for me, all these things are not natural, and I'm trying to get better at that. These are the things that I realized in the past 6 months. I stopped focusing on them as much during work. My sales conversations today and my presentations, they sound very different. As a recap of everything, I know even now, I feel that with this episode, it's been, all over the place. But I hope it does add some value to you guys. No matter what you do right now and where you are in life, I hope that this is something that you can relate to. This episode was a way to practice what I preach. And to remind myself that I still have that in me. So far, throughout this journey, there have been many moments of self-doubt. It's normal. And that's why you gotta be true to what you aspire in life. And for me, like I said, it is constant learning and effective communication. Thank you so much for being here today. If you haven't watched anything on my channel yet, please go ahead, click that subscribe button. Please share your comments in this video if you find that type of format helpful at all. I mean, if you really want to come at me and you want to roast me, go ahead and do this in the comments, but do it in the respectful manner. For those of you who are still with me and supporting me, thank you so much, and I hope you're having a great rest of the summer, and I hope to see you soon again. Bye!